Greetings, R. Frederick Riddle here with another Christian News and Views. This is episode 37, and today we're going to be looking at what's called the San Diego Super Sanctuary Policy. We're also going to take a look at President-elect's first news conference since the election. So those are going to take up a little bit of time, so we're going to get right to it. Now, the Super Sanctuary Policy includes several things. One of them, a very big idea, and this is selling off portions of the wall, the border wall. And their argument for this is that the wall is no longer usable, it's in disrepair, it is rusty, it is covered in cement, all sorts of things of this nature. And so they're trying to sell it off. Now, if it's in that bad a shape, the first question that comes up is who's going to buy it? Would you? Trump came on and made a statement, and he said, and he asked President Biden to put a stop to this. I don't think that President Biden will, but then again, he doesn't always do things that you think he's going to do, so he might do it. But at this point in time, he hasn't. So that's what there's a big reaction to the whole idea. Now, one of the things about the sanctuary policy of San Diego is that they argue that everything they're doing is to protect these illegal immigrants, to protect them. Well, protect them from what? From being sent back? Okay, I can understand why this goes against their agenda anyhow. But what about some real life dangers that they need to be protected from? There are men out there, and women for that matter, out there who will take advantage of other people. They will commit crimes against them. And whether you're a legal immigrant or an illegal immigrant, a crime is still a crime. And if they perpetrate a crime against you, the government will go after them. However, if they go after somebody who is doing provoking a crime or committing a crime against you, if you're illegal, the government needs you to testify. Well, that's an area that they're very sensitive about doing, because they fear that if they testify, they'll be sent back. And I don't know what the laws and arrangements are on that, but that's a whole lot better, being sent back, even to an oppressive regime. I liken what happened. They fell out of the boiling pot and into a frying pan, so to speak. Both are bad, but being at the mercy of these criminals is, I believe, worse than being at the mercy of a suppressive or oppressive government. They might disagree, but that's where I stand. Now, it's a very interesting fact emerged from news that I watched. The city of New York City, is also, I don't know if it's officially a sanctuary city, but they share many of the ideas and agendas of San Diego. But somehow they found ways to cooperate with the federal government so as to get people who are being abused, being robbed, beaten, maybe even killed, sold into slavery, not just sexual, but there's definitely sexual, but also for their labor, They're literally being sold into slavery of all different types. To go after those people, New York City has been cooperating with the federal government, and therefore they've been able to go after these criminals, the dangerous type criminals. Some of those criminals came in through the very porous wall that we have these days. Some were already here. But the thing is that they take advantage of those who are being brought in, who pay large sums, perhaps their entire savings, to be brought into America. Is it because they want to be stamped as illegals? No. They just see America as a much better place to be than their home country. And one of the ways I see of handling that is by putting pressure on those countries to get their act right. Biden hasn't done that. When Trump was in power, he did it to some extent, and there was some movement, but once he was out of power, they went right back to doing things the old way. And so we can look forward to, at least during the Trump years, of there being a force that is going to say to them, look, you straighten up your act. Start taking care of your people like you're supposed to do. But if you don't do that, we are going to start putting some sanctions on you. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. And you'll be worse off than if you cooperated. So cooperate with us, work with us, help your people be able to make a decent living in your land, in their home, their homeland actually, as well as their home itself. And when they start doing that, things improve. Now, New York City can, if New York City can cooperate, so can San Diego. And if New York City can cooperate, so can these foreign countries. So I'd like to see that develop. But in the meantime, President-elect Trump has pointed it out, is that the one who can stop what's going on is President Biden. He's still got, he's still got over a month left. He leaves office on the 20th of January. Now, is the wall unusable? Well, the San Diego government says, yes, it's unusable. I haven't heard anything about the Biden administration, but I think they know the truth, that it is usable, but it's not being used. And it's not being used because San Diego doesn't want it to be used. And for that matter, the Biden administration, with Harris as its czar, immigration czar, hasn't done anything. It's a porous wall. They've made it so. And so the result is that a lot of people are coming in, coming in, and some of them, perhaps the majority of them, are going to San Diego, where they can live, and they don't have to worry about being deported or anything like that. Now, there is a movement in Congress, I understand, that a bill has been introduced to try to clamp down on that and make these communities like San Diego respect the law. Not only respect it, but enforce it. And so we'll see how that goes. But the question was, is the wall unusable? And here's what they claim. It's unusable because it's covered in cement. Well, they haven't been able to show that. And people who have taken the time to actually look say, that's not a true statement. Well, maybe it's not so true, but it's rusting. People have looked. Now, in Arizona, for that to be true, you're talking about desert country. And as one man said it, he says, I live here, and there's not much could rust in Arizona. And in California, where I've been before, They might be able to rust, but again, uh, if it's rusting, it's because of lack of care. It's rusting because people have not been taking care of it, and countering what you can remove rust. There's products out there that you can get that rust off, but you want to do it sooner, not later. So that is a false claim that they are making, that it's covered in cement and it's rusting. It's just a false claim. And so I'm looking forward to when President-elect Trump takes office and things start to move. And I think that you'll see some movement down there on that issue. But the thing was, he had this news conference that covered a lot of different territory, and so it was the portion that I watched. I didn't have time to watch the whole thing, but the part that I zeroed in on, which was about the wall and so forth, that was well hosted. Trump was very calm, cool, collected. He moved around. He let different people talk, and so forth. And so he was a very good, in my opinion, from what I saw, it was a very good news conference. We're going to get to. I'm not sure that the statements about San Diego were there at that news conference, but that's where we're going right now, is to the news conference itself. And the highlights of that news conference are economic policies. So the economy is always a factor in our coverage, in the world that you and I live in. A very important thing. And here's what he is planning on doing, based on what he said in his news conference. He's going to slash job-killing regulations. There are a lot of regulations out there that Democrats like to do. They love regulations. It doesn't really matter to them whether they work or not. They just love regulations. History proves that. He's going to go through the regulations, and I think he made this same statement when he was in the first time. For every 10 regulations they remove, they'll maybe one new one, or keep one, whatever. Historic tax cuts for families, workers, and industries that create jobs in America. It's sort of what you call an America First idea. I'm not a person that wants to see us go totally in that direction. I don't want to see us become separated from the rest of the world. But we do have to think more about us, especially if the rest of the world is going to depend upon us. If we get sick, it's just like somebody who's caring for somebody, being a caregiver. You need to involve other people. You need to take care of yourself, because if you get sick, well, then the person you're taking care of gets sick. So if America gets sick, the rest of the world is in trouble, and they have been in the last 4 years. Now that forced the NATO nations to step up, which is a good thing, but they can only do so much. He also covered TikTok, and I'm not going to go into that in a lot of detail. I do not go on TikTok. It's mostly aimed at young people, and maybe in the future I'll do some more stuff on there. But right now, that is not my high priority, so I really didn't study that out. Other than the fact that TikTok is currently owned by China, and TikTok is under orders to be divested of China, or for China to divest them, however you want to say it, get a new owner. And so that's basically what it is. He may enter into those talks because TikTok is a place where a lot of young people like to go. They flock to it. And so he might, because that is a way in which he can communicate through TikTok to the young people. And so he may get involved in that. And you simply don't, at this point in time, don't know where he's going to go on that. but his involvement would probably be appreciated by a lot of people. Uh, Health and Human Services nominee Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has been making the rounds. Somebody in the news conference asked President-elect Trump, is Kennedy going to be able to do this, or is he going to be able to do that? And I liked the response I heard from Trump. He came back and he said, Kennedy is going to turn in a report to him, and then he will decide what's going to be done. In other words, President, I had his name in my mind a moment ago. Now it's gone. I can't think of his name right now. A former president once said, "The buck stops here," and that's the attitude that Trump is taking. That is Johnson. That was President Johnson said that. The buck stops here. Well, that is true. The president is the face of our government. He is the executive officer. He is the boss, if you will. And so Robert F. Kennedy will be working for him, not for Congress, not for anybody else. He'll be working for the president, and therefore he needs to make his reports. And then when Trump says do this, he does that. When he says don't do this, he doesn't do that. The next thing on the agenda was China, and he's holding that like a deck of cards or a fist of cards right close to his chest. And but I was watching that, and a reporter who was reporting on that particular news conference made this statement, which I think was right on. Trump has a policy of keep your friends nervous and your enemies flattered. It got that. My mind went right back to a previous one. It says, I think it goes all the way back to the Bible itself, and that is a statement of how'd that go? Keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Why? Because if you're keeping your enemies closer, you get to know them, you can talk with them, you can sit down at the table and negotiate with them. You can actually avoid conflict. Something we've gotten away from doing, but it's a principle that should still be used today. Another principle that might have been mentioned by that same reporter was that Trump is unpredictable. And he wants to be unpredictable. Because if your friends don't know how you are going to react, they're going to be very careful of how they go forward. President Biden, they got his number. They know how he's going to react. President Obama, they had his number. They knew how he was going to act. And you can go back president after president after president. One of the things that made Ronald Reagan so strong and powerful was, in my opinion, he was unpredictable. They didn't know where he was going to go next. Part of that was because he was a Christian, and that in itself people don't understand. And President Trump professes to be a Christian, and he showed in his first term he actually had Christian leaders come. I think it was weekly, but it might have been monthly. But it came in and on a regular basis, and they would give him their take, how they looked upon the different things going on in the world, and then he would act quite often in accordance with what he said, and very successfully, I might say. So that is something that was I think it was a very strong and good news conference. So that is what we're going to cover today. I just invite you that if you enjoy this channel, down below you have the opportunity to subscribe. You can get this particular podcast, Christian News and Views. You can also get another one called Becoming a Published Author is Fun. Now that particular one is for people who are writing or want to write, and this whole thing, both this podcast and this whole channel, is sponsored by T&R Independent Books, which I founded with my wife in 2014. After she passed away, I opened it up to be able to publish your books. If you want to write, you want to learn to write, I'll teach you. If you know how to write, but you just simply want your books to get published, I'm interested in that as well. If you're a Christian, then I want to have the opportunity to present to you my work, and you can get that. By the way, becoming a published author is fun, gives you tips and things of that nature that actually come out of my course, but I don't go as deep as the course goes. So there's just two areas right there where you can benefit from T&R Independent Books. We also sell books. The Best of Tess incorporates my wife's books. Plus, there's another book she published called Keys to Murder, a novel. Then a lot of books by me, both fiction and nonfiction. And in the future, as my clients begin to get their books published, we will start to see other books added. Well, that's it for today. You have a great time, a great day, and I will see you in the next episode.